Also, more than 40 students, among many Ghanaians stranded in war-torn Sudan, have been moved to safety as Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry, in collaboration with consular offices in Egypt, work to ensure over 70 persons are evacuated. And much later, former Environment, Science and Technology Minister Professor Frimpong Boateng hits back at attacks on him following the leaking of his 36-page Galamsey report. We have the details if you stay with us for the next 15 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of us. We begin in the Ashanti region, where the family of the slain Idum lady Victoria Dapa, popularly known as Majwa, have welcomed the arrest of Inspector Ahmed Chimesi, the suspected killer. Ajwa Nyako, the mother of the deceased, told my colleague William Evans Inkum she expects justice for her late daughter. Evans has been following the stories, joined us via phone with the very latest. Evans, you visited the family house this morning. Describe to us the mood there.
Well, the mood is that of a mourning. The mood is that of sober. But a number of people have come there to, sympathize with the family, a hard pill for them. But what a sister to the late mother of Majwa is saying is that all that they want from the IGP, specifically his name was mentioned, is justice. And that is all that they are looking forward to.
Baby, I'm rather be a year Adam parade betso. Kutojo gufom, Kutojo gufom, Nishanim, so Bebwame, Boba Martin, Sene, Ato baby, I was at to.
And the minim Nepa said now over me offer sitting in Anina, me who know how bad. Uhuna teen. Uhuna. Said na blah body na yisitiana. The oye
So those are families of the deceased. Ajwa Nyako speaking to my colleague William Evans Inkum. We've lost him temporarily on the telephone line. We'll try one more time and get some more details from him from there, because the indication as well is that there's been some movement of the suspect as well. We'll try one more time and get William Evans Inkum on the telephone line to bring you the very latest on this. But you're listening to the holiday edition of the news here on 3FM 92.7. We'll move away from this shortly and to some other matters, because more than 40 Ghanaian students stranded in the war-torn Sudan have been moved to safety as Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry, in collaboration with consular offices in Egypt, work to ensure over 70 persons are evacuated. Fighting has been ongoing for the last 10 days between rival forces, with over 400 deaths recorded. In the last few hours, some of the students have arrived in Kadarif from the Sudanese capital Khartoum via bus, as the airports remain in no-go area. We'll get the latest on the evacuation, but here's Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Kwekwan Prechum Sapong, who provided details.
Sudan offers scholarships to some Ghanaians, and we have about 73 Ghanaian students in Sudan undertaking university studies, especially in Khartoum, and the other one is the second biggest city in Sudan. A majority of them are in the petrochemical industry as well. So we decided that we will evacuate. Now, the unfortunate situation is we don't have a permanent mission in Sudan. So we have what we call an honorary consul. We have appointed a Sudanese citizen, a respectable Sudanese citizen, to look after Ghana's affairs in Sudan. What we also normally do is, in all countries where we have a sizable number of Ghanaian students, we encourage them to form a students' union. So we do have nooks in all these countries. So the leadership in association with the Honorary Consul, started the process. So we have so far accounted for all the Ghanaian students, 73. Nobody has been harmed. And we have all of them safe in a place. Then the next batch of Ghanaians are 3 Ghanaian footballers in Sudan. We've also accounted for them. So we put all of them together, and the plan is to evacuate them. We have the names, the contact, and everybody, all of them, congregated at a safe place for now, ready for us to move them. The nearest country that we can move them to is Ethiopia. Okay. So we are going to move them to the Ethiopian border.
Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Kweku Amprechum Sapon. Away from this, we'll bring you the latest leg of the Iranian battle between former Environment Minister Professor Frimpong Boati and some of the government appointees named in his wide-ranging report, which cites them for complicity in the Galamsey menace. And Professor Frimpong Boati, in his 36-page report, noted many government officials have been thwarting the fight against illegal mining and in some cases engaging in the practice themselves. In the last few hours, he has been hitting back at NPP stalwart and cousin to the president, Gabi Asare-Otridako, and Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah, who have since the release of the report sought to discredit the heart surgeon and former chair of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. There's a lot more in this report put together by my colleague, Komladum.
It is a report that's turned heads. Not as if the content are surprising, only the sheer scale of the revelations and the traces of government complicity that's got many on edge. The names from former members of parliament, ministers of state, NPP functionaries to other businessmen have left many wondering if there ever was a fight against Galamsey in the first place. Former Secretary of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bisu, has jumped to the defense of cabinet ministers on the committee.
Because if you have 10 cabinet ministers on or in a committee working with you, I don't think they will just leave the mandate to one person. He knows that there are a lot of things that I know, that maybe he was trying to run the show unilaterally and then leaving the rest. Hence, not informing the rest about the things that he's doing. But I do not think that the other ministers left the committee to him. I can mention, as the secretary, I can mention each and every minister's contribution towards dealing with the problem. Dan Butchie, Kofi Jamesi, who traveled around the whole country with me, Cecilia Dapa, because at a point you realize that Water Resources Commission that works under the Ministry of Water and Sanitation came out with a report that the turbidity levels of the water bodies were good. In Ankobra, the waters were clean. So every minister was doing what they were supposed to do. Dominic Nitu, Ambrose Derry, Operation Vanguard were doing their jobs.
He says during his time as secretary of a committee, he received open threats of harm and death by persons connected to illegal mining.
I'm not privy to what the discussion he had with Gavi and Dieter Kutego and the rest, but the discussion with Kweku Bako, yes, I'm privy to that. Because Prof called me as the secretary and said that Kweku Bako has called to attack him, that every time that he goes to cabinet, he tends to actually attack CNG Alaska and Heritage Imperial, the company, which the general manager was then Donald Ntia. With CNG Alaska, as I mentioned earlier, I was, Prof told me about the meeting with them. Donald Ntia, I remember I was in South Africa in 2019, around February, and somebody came to me and told me that Donald said I have been disturbing their company and that they are going to deal with me.
While some of the named persons have sworn not to be involved in the illegality, there are others who have simply remained silent. But not NPP stalwart, cousin of a president and lawyer, Gabi Asare-Otridako.
It even tells you how weak the minister's understanding of his position is. If what I did was illegitimate, why don't you take the right action? That he reported me to the president. For the president to do what? I mean, what kind of silliness is this?
Gabi, according to Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, interfered with the work of an interministerial committee when he represented some companies engaged in illegal mining. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah last week also denied plotting with the journalists to malign the heart surgeon who was at the helm of a fight against Galamsey. He maintained he only did his work by reporting issues making headlines in the news to cabinet without aiming at discrediting the former environment minister. But in a fresh response, Professor Frimpong Boateng noted very few people in Kojo Nkrumah's position will own up to their wrongdoings. Political power, he says, is short-lived, and Kojo Nkrumah must know he may no longer be in government and may experience the real world as former high-profile political power holders do. He further noted Kojo Nkrumah should work diligently and avoid coded and evil tactics. Professor Frimpong Boateng, in his latest response to the information minister, noted that Chinese and Ghanaian collaborators are engaged in illegal mining at the doorstep of an information minister and going ahead to encourage him to investigate and take action appropriately. This reaction comes on the heels of an earlier response to Gabi Asare-Dako. In that writer, Professor Boateng noted Gabi demonstrated industrial-scale ignorance of Ghana's mining laws. The minister reveals the companies Gabi Asare-Dako represents, that C&J Alaska and Heritage Imperial Mining, have long been engaged in illegal mining and should have been prosecuted by now. In a series of documents attached to his response, Professor Frimpong Boateng produced letters and notices from the Minerals Commission, the Lands Ministry and the task force, which showed the regulators warning the companies to cease their illegalities. It has so far been a war of words. A former MP for Manson Kwanta, Joseph Albert Kwam, has also denied owning Galamsey concessions in his constituency.
It is a blatant lie.
You don't own a concession?
I don't have even a single concession throughout my life. So why this report? What I'm going to do is I will let my lawyers write to him to retract and apologize. Other than that, we will go to court.
While the people cited in the report have been falling over each other seeking to clear their name, many watchers say it is time for the special prosecutor to get to work and probe the 2021 report.
I'm wondering why the chief of staff and the presidency has not called any of the individuals mentioned in this report to hear their sides of the story and open an investigation. This is something that should have been referred to the special prosecutor by now. When the president spoke and said, I put my presidency on the line, if the president really meant it, the president would have resigned by now.
That comprehensive report by my colleague Komla Atum, ending the holiday edition of the news here on 3FM 92.7. As always, a lot more news when you log on to 3news.com. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta.